My game is finally starting to look good, but there's a big problem. I've been wanting to put it on Steam, and the moment I started planning a Steam page, I realized it just wasn't ready. Screenshots weren't impressive enough, and the visuals just weren't doing the game justice. And if you want people to click on your game, those first few screenshots really have to sell it. So that's why I decided to completely overhaul the visuals of my game from the ground up. I redesigned the entire map, rebuilt environments, created new models, upgraded textures and lighting, and for the first time I added proper audio to the game. So I'm going to show you what it took for me to turn this into something actually worth a Steam page. In order to make this game look better, I had to start somewhere. So I took a look at the setting itself, which is the foundation for my game's visuals. My game takes place in an abandoned post-apocalyptic hotel, but I realized that my map now is just way too small and doesn't have the vibe that I'm looking for. I originally wanted a liminal space kind of look, and also I want the location to actually make sense as a hotel layout. I went on to do some research on real-world hotel layouts and maps to get a look at these schematics and make a sense of what my game setting can actually look like. When it comes to the game's arts and vibes, I wanted it to be super liminal, but not to the point like the back rooms where it's just surgical blank walls. I was thinking more of random patterns and carpets because to me this is just a lot more of the unsettlingness of a liminal space. Then I added some brand new carpet and wallpaper textures to the hallway, which looks a lot more detailed than what I had before. And I created a new hotel hallway network with numbered room doors. A lot of these new rooms could hold interesting items in weird locations. Many of them will also have quests and NPCs, which I'll go into later. All these hallways funnel into the elevator, which brings the player to the kitchen where all the magic and gameplay happens. Now that the hotel layout is brand new, I had to do something about the player's room. As it stands now, it just doesn't really look like a room, it's just a box. Since this is a horror game, I want the player's room to have a similar feeling to safe rooms from Resident Evil, with warm lighting and less filth and just a more comfortable environment overall. I went on to make the room bigger and change the wallpaper and carpet to make it look more visually interesting. And I hopped on Blender to make a bunch of new models for the room. So we got a bedside table, a chair, an end table, a TV, a bathroom sink, and a toilet. And it's already starting to look a lot better now. But the final cherry on top was adding these paintings around the room. And it turns out that a lot of old paintings are fully public domain since they're so old. So I found some public library archives and downloaded a ton of paintings to put all across my game. And of course, I also had to add a bathroom to the room because poopers stay pooping. I also gave a functional use for the TV in the room. So if you watch my last video, you'll know that when the player pauses, it brings them to a TV screen. So I'm having it bring them to this screen. But not only that, I made a new TV screen shader so that it looks a lot more like a CRT with the cool staticky effects, and I think is really cool. I want to add lore and details to the game of how other unfortunate prisoners and lost souls have been in the player's current position and didn't live to tell the tale. I thought having just notes in the room, while functionally effective, would feel a little bit jarring and gamey. So I like the idea that the player's captor in this game is trying to cover something up and put a mask over the misery. So that's when I started thinking about evil landlords and those videos online of landlords that just cover up broken and dirty stuff with just a fresh coat of paint. In a way, the monsters in my game are no different than these landlords, because much of the game's lore is going to be written in the walls of the player's room and other rooms throughout the hotel. But they've been covered sloppily in wallpaper. As each day passes in the game, some of the wallpaper will start peeling away, revealing old notes and secrets that have been covered for a long time. This one's a little corny and on the nose, but you get the idea. As a final touch to the room, I found a nice PSX style music pack on itch.io to use for the game, and I added a safe room soundtrack to make things a lot calmer and nice here. I do eventually plan on making my own soundtrack for the game, but I'm definitely going to need a Goku type of training arc because at the moment, I'm only capable of making DJ Toenail level beats. Throughout the game, players can buy keys to open doors to help them progress in both the story and their upgrade path. I went online to find some inspiration on different kinds of strange liminal spaces to help incorporate into my game and make things more interesting. I found this one image of a room that I really liked, so I put it into the game. This room contains a secret player upgrade and some lore, and it makes a spooky noise when you walk in. So that's pretty cool. And if you didn't watch my last video, which you totally should do after this one, I added an old cigarette machine to give players stat boosts when they smoke. So I put it behind a locked door in an old closet so that players can choose to unlock it. You can even see inside the window to pique your curiosity on what lurks behind. In this case, it's only pain and chronic addiction. I've got some more rooms and secrets on the way, but you guys are gonna have to find out yourself when you play the game. The kitchen is the last room I overhauled and is definitely the most important to get right. Because most of the gameplay takes place here in this this space, not only does it need to look good, but it also needs to feel good. And as it stands now, it kinda has none of those. The lighting's too dim, the layout doesn't feel good, and everything's a bit too spread out. There's a lot of temporary ugly models which I had to fix, so I had a lot of work to do. I started off by fixing up a bunch of models, so now we have a brand new cutting board where the player assembles their meals. Instead of this random metal cylinder for mashing stuff, I made an actual potato masher model, and I actually made a cheese grater model because before I just had whatever the hell this thing is. And for knives, instead of them having lay around, I made this wooden knife holder so players can just grab them out of this. To make the room more detailed generally, I added new table models and a bunch of AC ductwork and oven range hoods to make it look a lot more like a real industrial kitchen. To sell more of that post-apocalyptic feel, I even added a generator with makeshift wires tapped into the grid to help show that vibe and tell a bit of a story. Now, the most important thing I changed was the layout of the room itself and how the player submits their meals. I had two main problems with this. First, I found it super weird how the player submits their meals into this metal box. It's a cool idea, but it doesn't feel realistic or scary in any way. So I decided to change it to be a deep pit instead, inspired by Star Wars Episode 6 by both the Rancor and the Sarlacc pit. It's similar to the Rancor pit where there's a big metal grate that slides open to let all the stuff fall into the void. This void is where the monster you're cooking for is living. Now, putting this pit in the center of the room completely recontextualized the kitchen and its vibe, but this still wasn't enough. The room just felt a bit off. Upon playtesting, I found that it was just way too big, so I decided to shrink the entire room down and move everything closer to only the essentials into the space. This made it more claustrophobic and focused, with much less walking, and I'm kinda digging it. Now, when it comes to outside, the backyard serves the purpose of allowing the player to hunt down strange creatures to cook in their meals. So I didn't really change a lot of it, but I just wanted to make it a lot more detailed, so I added trees, bushes, and vegetation to give it some life, and some clutter to make it look a lot more lived in. So we got random trash, cans, debris. You already know we got a random toilet out here too to really sell that Fallout vibe. And that's pretty much all I've changed when it comes to the game's visuals, when it comes to outside and inside. And I think things are going to definitely evolve much further than this in the future, but I think this is a great start to being able to post my game on Steam. I'm not going to go over every single sound I added, but here's a quick highlight reel of some of the game's new soundscapes. We got new sounds, new ambient music, and some spooky stuff. And that's how my game's looking now after overhauling the environments, adding new textures, sound effects, and lighting. I think the game's in a really good place now and is inching much closer towards its Steam release. Now that I got a lot more of the visual polish out of the way, for the next video, I'm going to try to spend some more time polishing up the gameplay itself to make it more responsive, less buggy, and just fun. I'm also going to fix up the UI since it's really basic, and maybe I'm going to add a tutorial system because I have no good way of showing players how to play right now. And that's pretty much all for now, so thanks for watching. And if you don't subscribe, I'm gonna eat all your cabbages, so watch out, buddy.